In the misty dawn light, Jamal Roberts stood at the edge of Crescent Park, its foreboding iron gates open ever so slightly, as if in secret invitation. Salt from the nearby sea tinged the morning air, mixing with the earthy scent of damp leaves. The park, once a lavish centerpiece of the town, was now a derelict wasteland, overgrown pathways snaking through half-collapsed structures. Rumors buzzed around its existence, ghostly whispers of the curses that supposedly lived within its confines, since that fateful day years ago. As a journalist, Jamal should have been impervious to such superstitions, yet here he was, drawn inexplicably to the scene of the latest disappearance. Jamal shook his head, dismissing the unease curling in his gut. It was merely a job, a strange and unsettling one, but a job nonetheless. "I'll just record the facts," he reassured himself. His mind wandered briefly to the morning meeting with Diane, his editor, who had handed him the assignment with a mixture of sympathy and firm resolve. "People need to be informed, Jamal," she had said, her eyes earnest. "You know these stories better than anyone." "Hey, Robert," a voice interrupted his reverie. It was Kyle, a fellow journalist, his hands stuffed in the pockets of his windbreaker. "Going ghost hunting, huh?" "Yeah, something like that." Jamal flashed a reluctant smile, tapping his pen nervously against his notepad. "Anyone else disappearing off our radar?" Kyle's face turned serious. "You be careful, okay? There's talk of something real out there." His voice dipped to a whisper. "The old folks say it's angry." Jamal nodded slowly, the weight of Kyle's words adding fuel to the smoldering coals of his curiosity. As Kyle walked away, Jamal turned his eyes back to the shadowy contours of the park. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, the pull of secrets begging to be uncovered. Jamal sat hunched over a table in the dusty haven of the town's record office. Dim light filtered in through grime-streaked windows, casting long shadows across the yellowed newspaper clippings and faded photographs spread before him. Whispers of Crescent Park's history echoed through these pages, each story more unsettling than the last. The creak of the office door announced the entrance of Howard, a frail old man whose life seemed etched upon his craggy face. He shuffled over, his cane thudding softly against the wooden floor. "Heard you're poking around the park's old skeletons," Howard grinned, eyes twinkling with the mischief of untold stories. Jamal looked up, his interest piqued. "Just trying to make sense of it all," he replied, gesturing to the piles of reports and newspaper scraps. Howard settled into a chair opposite him, a worn journal clasped in his gnarled hands. "If it's sense you're seeking," he said, placing the journal on the table, "you'll find more in here than any of this," he added, waving a hand dismissively over the documents. Jamal's fingers brushed the leather cover of the journal, curiosity turning the pages in his mind. Howard must have noticed his intrigue, for he nodded slowly. "Worked there once, long ago." "Was just after that tragedy hit," Howard murmured. "A spirit, they say, a wronged soul haunting those grounds." The journalist's heart quickened. "Tell me more," he urged. Howard nodded, eyes distant. "A girl died there. They covered it up, bigwig folks at the time. But she lingered, mad as hell. This," he said, tapping the journal, "holds some truth, boy. Give it a good read." Jamal tucked the journal under his arm, thanked Howard, and stepped out into the fading daylight, the ghost of a girl and her unfinished story haunting his thoughts more than ever. The moon hung high and full in the ink-black sky, casting an otherworldly glow over Crescent Park. Jamal's breath formed white clouds in the chilly night air as he scaled the rusted gate, his pulse a steady drumbeat of excitement and dread. With one final heave, He landed inside, the crunch of leaves underfoot muted by the mist that swirled thickly around him. Every shadow seemed alive, twisted into grotesque shapes by the silvery light. Jamal tightened his grip on his flashlight and pushed forward, the wooden boardwalk creaking ominously beneath his weight. His heart raced as if attuned to the latent energy of the place, a presence he could sense but not yet see. The further he ventured into the park, the more vivid the sensations became, laughter and screams carried on the crisp breeze, the scent of popcorn and funnel cakes, almost tangible in its sweetness, the carousel's haunting melody echoing faintly, a ghost of its former grandeur. Jamal paused, clutching the journal to his chest. "Stay focused," he told himself. As if responding to his resolve, a faint vision danced before him, a scene from long ago. A young woman, her skirt swirling as she ran, her face a visage of terror. Her cries resonated in his mind, a plea frozen in time. It was her, the spirit he had read about. As the vision faded, a shimmering trail of light stretched out before him, urging him deeper into the park. He followed without question, driven by the compulsion to understand. In the heart of the park, he found it, a small, neglected garden surrounded by overgrown hedges. There, in the center, lay a cracked tombstone, the inscription barely legible. Hands trembling, Jamal brushed away the moss, revealing the engraved name, Eliza Moorcroft. "Who were you, Eliza?" Jamal whispered into the night, the words swallowed by the persistent silence. The air thrummed with her presence, and Jamal knew he was close to the truth now, yet what remained ahead promised to unravel everything he thought he knew. Daybreak painted the sky in hues of lavender and gold as Jamal sat cross-legged by the dilapidated fountain, the center of what once must have been a grand courtyard. Nearby, Margot crouched, her fingers brushing against the dirt with practiced familiarity. Jamal watched her, remembering their unexpected meeting the day before. He had stumbled upon Margot while escaping the chilling embrace of yet another ghostly vision. She had emerged silently, seemingly part of the shadows herself, with a wary nod and a knowing smile. "You're not the first to come looking for answers," she had said. Now, Margot examined a peculiar medallion they had unearthed near Eliza's resting place, a heavy, ornate piece inscribed with cryptic symbols. "This," Margot tapped the medallion delicately, "is connected to the folklore of Crescent Park. It's a key, in a sense." Jamal leaned closer. "A key to what?" She glanced up, mischief in her eyes. "To solving your haunting," she smirked, though her tone was solemn. "Eliza's story is entwined with this symbol." Jamal, overwhelmed with an adrenaline-fueled determination, nodded. "All right then. What next?" Margot stood, dusting off her jeans, and motioned for Jamal to follow. "Visions don't come unbidden. Their messages? Trials, if you will, for courage that goes further than just curiosity." Jamal hesitated, old doubts resurfacing like blackened waves. But the reflection of resolve in Margot's eyes quelled them. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady despite the underlying tremor. "Good," she replied. "Because we're about to meet Eliza. If you survive her trials, you might just save more than yourself." They moved in tandem through the park's labyrinthine paths, the medallion glinting ominously with each step forward. Jamal felt the weight of unseen eyes on him, a distant echo of Eliza's laughter riding the wind. Together, they would summon Eliza, and together, they would find the answers. Nightfall draped Crescent Park in a tapestry of shadows as Jamal stood at the edge of the murky lagoon. The water, a mirror to the starless sky, reflected the turbulent emotions swirling within him. Margot stood beside him, her presence reassuring in the ominous hush that blanketed the park. The previous night's encounter with Eliza still haunted him, a vision of pure fury born from betrayal and heartbreak. In that moment, he had glimpsed not just a vengeful spirit, but a soul wronged and restless. "Are you sure we're doing the right thing?" Jamal murmured, doubt gnawing at him. Margot's gaze was steady. "It's the only way to give her peace." "And peace to us?" He inhaled deeply, the scent of wet earth and decaying leaves grounding him. "I have to do this," he reminded himself, yet fear coiled in his chest like a serpent. As if sensing his turmoil, Margot spoke softly. "You aren't alone, Jamal. Remember that." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a shared commitment to see this through. Jamal nodded, drawing strength from her conviction. Before them lay the ritual circle, marked with candles and sacred symbols etched into the soil. The pages of Howard's journal rustled in his hands, guiding their actions. But doubt lingered. Another vision tugged at his mind's fringes, drawing images of his ancestors, their lives inexplicably tied to this spectral narrative. Jamal shook his head, clearing the haze. "Family," he whispered, the revelation sparking a recognition that pulsed through him. Crescent Park was more than a story, it was part of his own heritage. Alight with newfound purpose, he stepped into the circle, Margot following. Her hand was warm as it grasped his, anchoring him as they began the ritual. Jamal's voice rose above the night, invoking words that transcended time. As the candles flickered in the brisk wind, he felt a shift within, the tether to his heritage embracing him, urging him forward. Together, they faced the lagoon, where the spirit of Eliza waited. In the heart of the park, beneath a sky churning with ominous clouds, Jamal found himself bound within the circle of flickering candlelight. The ritual was underway, each word chanted reverberating in the air like a sacred invocation. Margot stood a step behind, her voice harmonizing with his, their combined energy a beacon cutting through the oppressive darkness. Jamal took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus, even as the icy tendrils of Eliza's presence brushed against his consciousness. "Show me," he thought, willing the spirit to reveal the truth. A gust of wind whipped through the circle, extinguishing some of the candles and plunging them into semi-darkness. Yet in his mind's eye, Jamal saw everything, the tragic night of Eliza's death, her desperate cries for help, the betrayal by those she trusted. Tears stung his eyes, not just from the chill wind or fear, but from a profound empathy for the sorrow that had transformed Eliza's soul into something so fearsome. She had been wronged, falsely accused by the very people meant to protect her. "I'm sorry," Jamal whispered, his voice cracking. "You deserved better." The air around them thrummed, Eliza's spectral form materializing at the edge of the circle. Her eyes, no longer burning with fury, gleamed with a resignation Jamal hadn't expected. Margot squeezed his shoulder, her silent encouragement bolstering his resolve. "You've come this far, Jamal," she murmured. Jamal nodded, stepping forward. "We're here to set things right, Eliza. Help us end this." The ghost wavered, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. Yet instead of unleashing her old rage, Eliza extended a hand, translucent and trembling. "Trust," Jamal breathed, reaching out to meet her spectral fingers. Understanding passed between them, along with a sense of release. The park seemed to hold its breath, the very ground underfoot sighing as the curse began to dissolve, Eliza's vengeful fury finally quelled by understanding and compassion. The morning sun bathed Crescent Park in soft gold, erasing the shadows that had long clung to its secrets. Jamal stood before the gates, inhaling the fresh sea breeze that promised a new beginning for the town and its turbulent history. Gone was the malevolent presence that had haunted this place. Eliza, her story finally told, had found peace. Back in his modest apartment, Jamal tapped the keyboard with deliberate care, recounting every detail for the article that would break the town's decades-old silence. As the narrative unfolded, he felt the weight of his responsibility, not only to the town but to Eliza, whose story deserved justice. His phone buzzed. It was Diane, his editor, her voice brimming with pride. "Read your draft, Jamal. You've nailed it." A smile tugged at his lips. "Thanks, Diane. It's more than just a story now, it's part of our history." "I know," she replied, and Jamal could picture her warm smile over the line. "You've done something special here." He hung up, the satisfaction of closure settling over him like a comforting blanket. Despite the accolades he foresaw, perhaps even a nod from the national press, Jamal's thoughts remained with Eliza. He promised himself he'd maintain the integrity of her tale, ensuring it was always told with the respect it deserved, capturing not just the terror but the humanity within her tragedy. Later, he wandered back to Crescent Park, now a monument not just to the supernatural, but to the strength of confronting the truth. Margot met him at the entrance, a soft camaraderie expressed in a nod and shared drink from thermos coffee cups. "Think people will believe it?" she mused, gazing at the quiet, sunlit paths. Jamal shrugged, a chuckle bubbling up. "Does it matter? We know the truth, and maybe that's enough to honor her." Margot smiled, raising a toast to the park's legacy. To Eliza Moorcroft and to facing the unknown. Jamal clinked his cup against hers, a silent vow in his heart, to never let the tale of Crescent Park vanish into obscurity, but to let it thrive as a reminder of the past and a beacon for the future.